I go out or stay here?
I'll
Maybe
be
you can
like,
just sit.
okay,
Do you want to
you
sit
can
in the
just
front
stand
there?
here.
Do they
And
need
then
input
just walk on.
mics or are they?
No, we're going to use handheld.
Oh, they're on the chairs. Okay, great.
Cool. Okay. Oh, you can
No,
just
we
wait,
wait.
and
We
then
wait
I'll be
until she
like,
makes the
Oh,
announcement. And then.
hi. Do you want this, Sarah?
No, it's fine.
So you're going like a rock star.
Collector and artist relationships. What was I saying?
Don't say curator.
Just hold it up and take a picture.
And if you don't need it, you don't need it. But
Okay, a one-on-one conversation on collector and artist relationships in a digital era with Jacobo Garcia Gill and artist Mac 2. Starting now. Hi, a one-on-one conversation on collector and artist relationships with Jacobo Garcia Gill and artist Mac 2 is about to start. Please welcome them on stage.
Hello, testing, testing.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, well, welcome. Yeah, I want to welcome everybody for coming in. This is kind of like it's going to be a pretty interesting conversation with an artist. I think it's kind of like a relationship that is a little people don't necessarily talk too much about, like the interaction that collectors have with artists. And I think it's very. I mean, we thought it was quite clever or quite interesting to perhaps present that perspective to the people attending that fair. You might be an aspiring collector, an established collector, perhaps an artist or aspiring artist. So we thought that it was quite interesting to have this conversation. So let me introduce myself. I'm Jacobo Garcia. I run a collection called Divide by Zero Collection, which is based in Hong Kong. And I collect works that are associated with social developments of all kind. And certainly the practice of Mac 2 is one of my favorites. So I want to introduce Mac 2, a fantastic Hong Kong artist
Thank you, thank you.
who is, she's exploring themes of, I would say something that I call post-internet. It's something that is the generation that grew up exposed heavily to the internet. Oh, I think that's kind of like your latest series because you are, I mean, I know you from well before you were doing this. But Mac is, what I like about Mac is Mac does explore that relationship of this generation in particular, growing up exposed to a lot of technology. Not necessarily hardware, I think that was more like the 80s, but more like software, like more video games, social media. And you're exploring like, or this is actually my take, you're exploring themes about psychology and philosophy in your works, and your works are quite fun, are colorful, are video game inspired, you use The Sims. So I thought, I mean, when I saw the works, that they were like super interesting. But I don't know, I mean, this talk is about, it's supposed to be the relationship that both of us have, right, as collector and an artist. So I don't know, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Mac. I wonder how many people know my practice so that I don't have to repeat myself. Okay, so not many actually. I've been known Hackable for years. When did we meet? I guess it's like 2017,
We
something
met
like that.
the first time I saw you collecting you. It was a year later at that dinner that we had with
All right.
Bernard, the hyenas. It's a super funny story, but yeah, that was about 5-6 years ago. I cannot
Yeah.
remember.
Like, cause I started to sell my work in this year actually. Like way before I didn't sell anything, and I always have these kind of nervous feelings towards collectors. Like I always feel that like you can't talk to your collectors, otherwise he or she might think you're stupid and no longer collect your stuff. So like, so our relationships is always kind of. I'm trying to detach myself from you. Have you noticed that?
Really? No, I think it's always very friendly. Okay. okay, I'm discovering something new. But we always thought it was super, quite friendly, and
Yeah.
from the hyena point, because I don't know. Should I tell the story about the hyena to contextualize everybody?
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Hyena.
So the story is about hyenas, and this is the reason why the moment I decided to collect Mac, right? So I flew. I was in Beijing once, and Mac was having it was a solo show, right?
Yeah.
It was a solo show at the Art Gallery in Beijing when they had the booth over there. And the work was very conceptual. I think what was interesting, you had these works, there was like a pile of dust, and you had the little robots, you know, the cleaning robots that go around, and it was super funny. Like a lot of her works are very, she uses a lot of humor. You're also a comedian, a stand-up comedian, YouTuber. She has a very wide practice, and she has humor to convey perhaps interesting or thoughtful points. So her works were about these robots. You see this massive pile of dust, right? And you see this little robot that comes into this pile of dust, and it's like, no way. And then the robot comes back, right? And it was like quite funny. Then that was about a year ago, and then on that same show, there was a work which I eventually collected. That it was the cell phone. I think it should be somewhere on the screen. It's like one of the cell phones, and it has these like cherubs, and it's like glorifying the cell phone, and it was that old Nokia, and that for me was quite interesting because at that time I was exploring already the concept of post-internet, like dependency that the cell phones have created, and like and how much that has changed socially the behavior of people, like the handheld phone, right? Because I grew up in a period where there were no cell phones.
This one.
Right? Yeah, this one. So I saw it in Beijing, and then it was like, okay, that is super interesting. And then time passed, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to think about it. And then it was in Art Basel, like the year later. We were invited to this dinner where there was a very established artist called Bernard Venet. He's a sculptor, French sculptor, very, very, very established. And he was doing some performance with one of the auction houses. Cannot remember which one. Sotheby's. It was Sotheby's. He was doing a performance, and after the performance, we were invited to the dinner. The dinner wasn't that big. We were about what, 15 people?
Less than, just like
probably
one
10
table,
people.
like 12 people. And then I was sitting, like next to me is Pascal, like my boss of the gallery, and then sitting next to me is Bernard. And then they keep talking in French, and I have no idea what they're talking about. And then so I actually, before going to the Basel in that year, I went to teach the kids. It's because I was so broke, and I used to be like a private tutor to teach kids. So inside my bag there is a book about hyena.
Yes.
And then because the dinner is so boring, I have no idea what they're talking about. So I just like pull out the book in the middle of nowhere. And then he spotted it.
Yeah, so imagine she's talking to an artist that is extremely established, right? Bernard Venet is one of the most influential artists of perhaps of the 90s and 2000s. I sketched on the big sculpture. He's extremely established guy. And then you have Mac, like emerging artist, really shy, absolutely nervous, talking to a person that is like so established, and the person asking, what do you do? What is your practice? Kind of stuff. And you can tell because I was at the other side talking to Vincent. And Vincent is Pascal's son, the gallery owner. And we saw you that you were quite stressed out. You were like really nervous. And then suddenly you put this book. It's like a kid's book, a child's book, a children's book, right? About hyenas, you know, like the one, the colorful, the hyenas. And I don't know, you were doing research. I don't know, you pulled that book and you start opening. It's like, look, I like hyenas. And suddenly, like, everybody started laughing on the table, like, what the hell is this? But that is the moment that I realized Mac thinks differently. Like, Mac is extremely spontaneous. And that's actually what I look after when I look at artists. I like artists that are very sincere to themselves, and they are not afraid of expressing, because there's a lot of always very filtering, especially what you explored, social media and so on. You explored that theme, but you were really out there. Like, I'm a shy person, nervous person, and I like these things, and I want to present it. Like, if you ask me who I am and what I do, this is what I do. And I like that sincerity of it. And I remembered that immediately I was with Vincent. I said, Vincent, I'll buy that work, which is the cell phone there, which is very different from your known practice, which is this lenticular. We have another story about this one. It's an argument because you didn't want to do this one. But when but then I saw that lenticular. You were doing something very different, but I saw your way of thinking, and that's where for me what hooked me up. Like, she's someone for the future. And the fact that, of course, and I think something that I have seen and I have tried to help, because I think over the years we help each other. You have an idea and you sometimes send me a message, and then like look at this documentary, or I have seen this. Now we have got like a very fluid conversation where we flow ideas. We check this documentary, or check this material, or I'm reading this book, or something. But because I feel that as a collector, when I find an artist that is very good conceptually, that has a very good idea, and is so forward in the practice, as a collector, I have the power, even if it's extremely limited, I have the power to support the artist forward, because we all have networks. We have friends and colleagues and associates or whatever that are different from the artist. So you try to leverage that off, and I mean to a point. I mean we're having this conversation today. It was pretty much because of that, because I know people I have to thank Asian Society and so on, and we thought of discuss this idea. We thought it was pretty good, but that is actually the role I think I have as a collector. My responsibility is to take those messages that you're conveying and take them forward, and I will do everything for you, like
Thank you.
anytime. I'm super committed to your practice. I think it's extremely, really wise, really smart, and I want to help you out, of course.
Yeah. So I guess people know who I am, and then maybe I get to know a bit of my practice. So now
Yes.
it's my turn.
True.
Actually, I know just a little about you. I barely know you, right? So I want to take this opportunity to interview you for a bit,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Okay. Yes.
People keep telling me, because like people keep telling me like, oh, Hackable is so support you, you know, Hackable is your big fan, blah, 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 and, you know, but I want to know your background. So where are you from actually?
Okay,
So why you're in Hong Kong? How many years have you been in Hong
I
Kong?
like, it's normally when you come to these talks, everybody wants to hear the artist, but yeah, I take you want to hear the collector, and I will spin it because I will spin it. I will relate to you eventually.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm from Colombia. I was born in Colombia, and I came to Hong Kong close to 15 years. I have been in Asia for a very long time. I was born in Colombia, but I came to Asia about 25 years ago. I used to live in Singapore before, and I came to Hong Kong 15 because of work. I used to work in the financial industry back then, and yeah, it was. Life took me around, and eventually I settled in Hong Kong, and I fell in love with this city because this city has. Yeah, Gayao has that spirit, has courage, has a true spirit. Something that I didn't find perhaps anywhere else. Is something that is very strong, to a point that is so strong that now the M+. Perhaps a little bit about me. I'm a patron for the arts, so through practice I have been a strong supporter of the arts. Not only artists, but I also do patronage for institutions like M+, Parasite, which is another one that I strongly recommend you. And for many young artists that I'm also trying to bring them up, not only Hong Kong, but internationally, globally. I try to support artists' careers whenever I can. And so when I came to Hong Kong, something that I fell in love was that spirit, that Hong Kong spirit, that is very unique. And now you see it at the M+. When you go to the M+, they really capture. They actually have a whole wing dedicated to Hong Kong visual culture, or Hong Kong culture overall, and you understand the background works like. I have been discussing with many people like the selection to open with King of Kowloon, the importance of what it means that for Hong Kong. I felt no, I don't know. It resonated with me, especially because I left Colombia when it was a very difficult period. I left Colombia in the 90s, in the late 90s, when it was the peak of the drug war in Pablo Escobar and the whole thing. It was very violent place. And I came here and I found a totally different place. It was totally opposite. But what I fell in love about Hong Kong was that spirit that I can see it. Even today after like what I've been through, like protests and COVID and so on, you can see the resilience of this city. That's what I felt. And I call Hong Kong home is because I like places that have that kind of courage. So that's me in Hong Kong.
So do you think what's the difference between like the artwork created by Hong Kong artists and other artists that you collect? Do you think there is a difference or no?
Yes and no. I don't necessarily limit my practice or my collection to a particular geography or gender or nothing. I collect. It's quite random. It looks random to everybody, but it doesn't look random for me. I collect works that represent sort of like a social development. Yeah. So what I like about Hong Kong artists is that resilience. But especially your practice, I don't collect you because you are a Hong Kong artist. I collect you because you are a post-internet artist. You are one of the few artists that are really exploring what it means to grow up through the internet. And that's actually what I collect you. If you were born, let's say, in Nigeria doing the same practice, I'll be probably collecting you anyway. Because I believe that the impact that internet had in post-internet, which I define it post 9/11, when surveillance and so on had in societies, is massive. It has reshaped the way that we interact, the cell phones and so on. And you're exploring that. So that's the reason I collect you, because I think conceptually you're into something very big that very few people are not doing. Because one thing that I noticed with artists is because people try to find the easy way, right? So a lot of artists, they try to focus a lot on the aesthetics, and we were discussing that. I think we're discussing something about love, and so they look a lot of on the shape, on the physicality of the work, but not the intention behind. And the most powerful works are the ones that have a meaning, have an intention, have an exploratory intention, and you clearly have it with that exploration about internet. I invite you, if you have access to, I know that I should not be saying that, but if you have access to Art Basel, there's a couple of works of Mac over there, and then you will see her works. The one, I like the one that you have the cell phone, like people are kind of like praying to a cell phone. The one about censorship is really smart.
That one is commissioned by Casetify. No,
Or-
you mean this worship one, right? In
Or-
Casetify we trust.
Or for example, this one, this concept of the one, but for example, this one, I collected this one because I like the plasticity of the video game. This for me is museum piece. This works a lot about identity, especially you walking away from that mirror. There was another one about race. You explored that theme, and I like it because it's something that's quite relevant. The millennials is a generation that is extremely diverse, right? And you see people, multiracial relationships are quite common among millennials, and your practice explores that, and all the taboos that are around it, and so on. And I like that you're not afraid of doing this, and that's the reason why I collect it. And I think that's the reason why your work resonates with beyond Hong Kong, because you're tackling global issues, and that's the reason I collect you. Then another question.
No, actually, I'm going to ask you how old are you and have you been married, those kind of things, but I don't think it's appropriate, suddenly. So maybe your turn. Do you have any question for me?
Yeah, I do have a question. Do we have perhaps we have like an aspiring artist or someone young, but because Mac is a conceptual artist. I define you as a conceptual artist, especially your practice, because you don't practice, you don't paint.
I don't paint,
you
yeah.
use the internet to paint, to do your practice, which is a concept that I absolutely love. But one question that I have for you is that when you discovered you were an artist, or what was that moment where you realized, like, hello, I'm an artist?
Wow.
Sorry.
Actually, I have been to Art Basel for many, many years. Like, I feel old. Like, what year is that? 2020? Like, the first time I've been to Art Basel is already like 2013. And then by the time I was invited by famous curator called Hans Ulrich Oberst. He is the curator of a Serpentine Gallery. And then during the time, I didn't know who he was. Actually, I was still studying in university and then doing my final year project. And then so when I received the invitation, I was like quite surprised. And then I have no idea why he invited me. And then, anyways, it has to do with the art ecology, like how it transformed in Hong Kong, because. 2012 is an important year for, I guess, many things. Like first, iPhone 4 is actually invented in that year, and it changes, it changes a lot how people receive information and read things. Because by the time people just receive information from magazine, or people still browse the internet, but then you can carry your phone and then just like browse the internet and stuff, and it changes how people perceive things basically. And then it also changes how people look at art. So there is a movement called post-internet. It happened that time, and then I was actually in that movement. And the reason why I was invited by Hans is because I like several things. First, I am dealing with the post-internet. Like my work is about post-internet, and second, I'm from Hong Kong, and also I'm a female. And then, so this is how I enter into the art scene without any preparation. And then suddenly people just like, oh, they call I'm an artist. And then so yeah, and then I guess basically this is how I refer myself. And then other agrees, right? It's just like other jobs. You cannot claim yourself you are a lawyer if nobody believes you are. So I guess this is the moment of.
Yeah, I think because especially your practice, it's very conceptual. There's a sense of belief. You really have to believe what you're doing, and because we were discussing that earlier, like I guess at the beginning you were really unsure. I was, even as a collector. It took me a long time to call myself a collector because I really didn't understand what that meant. It's not a person that just accumulates works and puts them on a wall. No, you have a purpose as a collector, right? And I believe that especially as a conceptual artist, that is very extremely intangible. I think you deal a lot with all that sense of insecurity and reception, because one thing that I admire about artists overall is that I found them very brave, because what they're doing, the products that they are, because this is effectively what you see here is commerce, right? These are works that people are buying and selling, right? This is trade. But the product that you're selling is something that is very intimate. It's something that is like your personal thoughts. So when those works get judged in a way, it could be quite frightening because it's very personal. So I don't know how you dealt with that. How you dealt with at the beginning when you were like going through the ranks, if we can say it that way. How you deal with that imposter syndrome?
What syndrome?
Imposter. There's a term called imposter syndrome. When you, as you are progressing and succeeding, you don't believe it.
Oh.
You don't believe that you are getting there. That you have that. So that sense of insecurity is always in you.
I guess I don't think I doubt whether I'm an artist or not many times. I guess what I doubt about is whether I can make a living as an artist. Right? Like my parents is actually sitting here, hi. 我爸媽喺度，佢都唔知我講咩。But then growing up in like a traditional Chinese family, like there's no such job as artist, right?
You're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer.
You're either a doctor or a lawyer, right? You can't be other things, otherwise you you fail, right? And then I guess, but I don't know whether it's true or not. Like I convinced my parents that I'm an artist, I guess, until I can make a living as an artist. I guess whether I don't know why. I don't know whether I can say this or not, but this is very true. It's like this is like a sad truth, right? Like you deep inside you can call yourself an artist, but no one believes you are. Then you are not.
Yes.
Then I guess I am. Like you can actually tell that from my practice. Like I'm trying very hard to go into the system. and then find a seats in the system. Like I am actually deliberately, intendedly to do so. Like before, I don't make any paintings, right? And then there is a moment that it comes to my mind that, okay, I need to make a painting because otherwise I can never make a living. And then I guess I intendedly I'm deliberately trying to enter into the system so that I can be recognized. You know, I don't know,
And
maybe
eat.
subconsciously, I don't know.
And eat, because you need to make a living. So
Make a
you
living,
also
yeah.
need to eat.
Do you think that's true?
Well, actually, I wanna, because I want to take you there. I think it's very important. I think I won't say it's luck. I think you have an innate talent for exploration, for expression, especially because you express it in a very different way. You are like the only first artist that I see that you're really using the internet as a tool. You're not do your, okay, perhaps the people that are not familiar with Mac's works, I will explain what I mean about you using the internet. Mac doesn't really paint. She actually plays something on video games, and she made this beautiful rendering, right? That is very idealistic, right? It comes from your video game, is your own world, extremely selfish. It's absolutely perfect and pristine, right? And then you take a printout of it, and then you force it into reality, but then you cut it in three, and then she sends it. You hired the people in Taobao, still in Taobao, right?
Yeah, Taobao.
So she hires three different painters through Taobao. She goes to Taobao. These people don't know each other, and she's like, paint this. So they only send her like one strip. Well, if you look at the panel, they always have 3 panels. So she sends one strip to one artist, the other one to another artist, the other one to the other artist, and she gives very little instructions. So of course, when the painter in Taobao receives it, he's like, what the hell is this? Like it doesn't match. The guy is very confused, but that's the point of it, right? And then of course the guy paint, and then the works come back, and then it mismatches, and which is the friction with reality. When you bring something from your ideal, your personal thoughts that we all think is absolutely perfect. I'm always right in my inner world, and you bring it into reality, you always have that friction. And I always advise people when they talk about Mac and which works do I acquire, I say, like, look at the works that have the most mismatches, because those are the works that are very strong. To a point that I remember we have an argument once. There's a work, is there on the screen, that actually the panel came short, right? And I was actually quite interested in buying that work. I bought it like, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
A while ago. That one, this work,
2
right?
years? Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
panel is short. And Mac actually was quite frustrated. I remember seeing it, and you were frustrated by the fact that it was short. and I was remember with the gallery, said like, Mac, that's actually the whole point. And she's like, I know. So actually that work has an extra panel. That is the one matching. And so it wasn't a fair, it wasn't on a schedule, right? So we were at the fair, and the work with the matching panel was up. So, and I was there with the gallerist at that time, and we had to wait for you to leave. So you left the fair, and I told the gallerist, do you still have the mismatching panels? And like, yes, I have it. Let's put it up, and let's see how people react. We went against her. And then we said, like, hey, Mac, we did it, and the fair was closed. We did it, we took a photo. Let's say, like, Mac, I know that you're going to get upset, but let's do this. Let's display it for a day, and let's see how people react, right? And of course, the next day, people came, and they're like, we get it.
Okay,
And that's the reason I bought it.
true.
That's why you see me there with that's the moment I got it, because it's conceptual. It's like, I think people start understanding what your work is about.
Like speaking of this, that you talk about insecurity. I guess that is the insecurity I have.
Yes.
Like when producing or making artwork, right? I'm not like those painters. Like there is a canvas, and then you put some paint on it, and then you call it painting, right? And then people will agree that is a piece of art. And then, but I'm not doing that, right? I've asked like Taobao painters to paint that, and then it actually requires lots of courage to put it on the wall and then tell people that, okay, I need to convince you that it's a piece of art. And then of course, like my gallerist is very nice, and they help me to do so. But then there is like some kind of like still like insecurity, like, because now when I look it back, right, you can tell that the series is well received. But by the time, I don't know, right, well perceived. But by the time actually I have no idea how other people may think, right?
And then, no, I fully understand, but I think the relationship between a collector and me as a collector, I bring those eyes that are outside your world. So I'm beyond like your inner fears. And I was there. I mean, of course, I'm acquiring the risk, acquiring the work, and you can say that I'm taking the risk. But I was trying to reassure you, like, Mac, don't worry, you will be fine. And I think at that time you were still very emerging. You were kind of like a young artist just getting into the scene. It's not like the Mac. It was quite beautiful that when we met Elaine, we met another artist when we were walking in, and she's my goddess. Like now Mac is very established because conceptually she is quite big, and a lot of like a younger artist, they look up to you because for what you have done. So back then when I collected the work, Mac was new, and I'm like trying to tell her, like, don't worry, Mac, it's going to be okay because I believe in you. What you're doing is right. And that exercise was quite nice because we went against her. We put the work mismatch. Then the next day people came and they were fascinated by the fact that it was totally mismatched. It looks like out of place, but it still looks nice. And I think that gave to the market, they got a better understanding about your work. And I don't know, but I hope you felt better because when I saw the people's reaction, is the moment I said, I will buy it. And I bought it. And since then, I have been buying more and more and more. And I can tell you, we have led to that tiny work, to this work that it was actually featured in ArtNet, this one. And we did an interview with ArtNet. So, and because I keep telling a lot of people like to support you, to take your ideas forward. And even until today, I will tell you, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need my help anymore, but it's going to be all right.
But this is like very interesting because this is like the process how value is constructed through like a bunch of people who also think that, oh, this is great. You know what I mean? Like if I just create in my own room and I never show it to people, then it won't create any values. And then values is created because you spread the words out there and then attract a bunch of people, you know, to agree with you. Do I make sense?
It makes sense. It's a work alone can just do so much. And I invite, if we have everybody like an aspiring collector of a collector, I really invite you to participate by telling people what you like about the work. I think people want to know that, and you want to get involved. And I don't know. I'm sure that you know your collectors, and you have a good relationship with other collectors, and I don't know. Okay, that's the question. Besides me, of course, I'm your number one fan. Your interaction with other collectors, do you think is important? Do you think is a bit cold and irrelevant, or is it me like I'm very unique?
I guess I didn't really interact with my collectors. No, I guess you are the few of them. You're one of the few of them that I interact with. Do you think I'm important? Do you think it's sorry? What's your question? Do you think it's important?
I'm the weird one then.
Sorry.
No, I was asking if you have, besides me, do you have a close relationship with any other collector?
Oh no.
So I'm the weird one. No, but I do remember we had I think during Christmas there was this dinner, and there were these two collectors that and they were running. So I was walking with you, and they were like, "Amak," and they were like, and they just acquired a piece from you. And at least on my side, I do hear a lot of people that are buying your works, and they tell me like why they like it, why they dislike it. And so maybe they don't tell you that directly, but they do tell me, and I can tell you that a lot of people are getting it. But on that, I want to, because perhaps it's relevant to the audience, Instagram or social media. Do you how important is for you to communicate with the public? Do you get like a lot of
with the public?
Also because you do your practice. I don't know. We can talk about your practice on YouTube and stand-up comedy. I don't know do you use social media to interact?
how to say, I always feel like I'm living in a black box, there is like a big machine running behind me, controlling by lots of parties, and I have actually don't know who they are. And then, like for example, you often say that I'm famous, and then you are a star, and then after, I have no idea, to be honest. And then I know lots of people like my work, but people won't tell you every day, right?
Yeah, true, true. Yeah, they need to keep you.
It's because I have a gallery, right? A gallery done the job for me.
Yes.
And then so I don't have to really have to interact with the people. I guess it's good for me, to be honest, because I need some space
True, true, absolutely.
to create, right? And then those things like those kind of marketing or like networking parts, I will leave it to
To me.
somebody, to you, yes.
No, I think it's important, at least for the artist, to artists should focus only doing one thing, which is produce works, and you need to have all the space to produce. But I don't know, because I want to talk about your practice as
Yeah.
as a stand-up comedian, right?
Oh, right.
Which is very social, right? You're standing up. I don't know if people here have seen her shows,
No. I'm just an amateur.
but still. So, and I don't know, because you interact, you're making jokes about everything and
right.
about people, and I mean, there's like a communication there. How important is that to your practice, to your plastic practice?
I think that is very important because I've never done any full-time job in my life, right? So I have been, if being
Lucky
an
her,
artist,
lucky her.
lucky me. So if being an artist is like a job, I have been doing this job for many years. So I need something else to keep my mind going, and I need to learn something new to keep my engine warm. So trying different things is important to me because when you have been industry for so long, you get used to it, right? Like today, I bump into many people that I know. I've been a buzzer for over 10 years, and then I'm so familiar with this industry. And then, but when I do stand-up comedy, right? I'm nobody. Nobody know who I am, and then everything is new. I have to learn from zero. And then I met so many great comedian artists. Actually, I can find something similar to making art. It's actually that is a kind of creation. And then, like because like when you exhibit a piece of work on the wall, then you can never see how people react to it, right?
Yes.
Live. But then on the stage, you have. It's very brutal, right? It's very brutal, right? If your joke is not funny, then people will just not laugh, and then you have to take it. And then I think that is important because like sometimes I'm being very cynical, right? Like when people keep saying, "Oh, Mac, your work is good. Your work is so good. I like your work," and then I take that as like some kind of like a flattering, right? And I don't want to keep listening to this all like throughout my life. I want something real.
So
I want some real criticism.
You prefer the audience telling like you're a failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think that is important, really, for artists as well. Because artists needs to get outside the world and see what's going on,
Yes.
right? So that you can improve.
One thing that I really like about you is that the fact that you do the stand up and the YouTube, because it gives you way of thinking. It gives you a diverse thinking, that just being in a studio or just playing the video game and doing it gets quite monotonous. And the fact that you go out there and see something else and interacting with people, it give you new ideas. So I do like that, and I think I have told you many times that I really love. I remember even there was an article. We have someone from I won't mention the newspaper, but it was a Hong Kong newspaper that did an article about you, and they call her the YouTuber, and I was so upset about it. I wrote them like, this is. I mean, how can you call her? When she's a conceptual artist, the YouTube is complement the practice that she's doing. She's far bigger than just a YouTuber, and that for me is the role of a collector, that you need to stand for the artists that you collect. I think as a collector, especially when you're putting significant money onto works, you cannot just have them there being an idle asset, doing nothing, making a wall look pretty. No, you need to do something with it because artists, I don't know, but from all the artists that I have met, they really appreciate when you help them communicate their message. And that's actually what I feel. I always feel that I have this innate feel in me to be part of the ecosystem of the art ecosystem. We collectors are part of it, of course. We are part of the consumer cycle, but we need to tell those narratives. And I feel that the relationship that I have with you is of that commitment. That I will always be there for you on your practice. Like no matter if it's good and bad. I have many cases of artists that are producing things and then they do works that I dislike because I don't know, they go on the wrong route or whatever. But it doesn't matter. I know that they have that resilience to think differently, and they have patches. Like everything in the world is cycle, right? You have good cycles, bad cycles, good cycles, bad cycles, and is being there in the ups and the downs, and it doesn't matter what. Supporting them through the exploration process, and at least for me, I will always be there for you.
Thank you. Aw.
Do we have? How are we doing? I think we have. Should we open for Q&A?
Yes,
or?
I think so.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think we're getting. Yeah, we're having the queue now. Anybody has questions about what it means to be perhaps a collector or to wants to be a conceptual artist, which I think is an extremely difficult thing to do, or about the relationship that we have? Sure.
Can I ask the question?
Yeah.
How old are you and are you married?
How old are you, and if
How
you're
old
married?
am I? I'm 30. I'm nearly 33, and I'm not married.
Oh. Okay. So you have a Tinder profile?
I don't.
So may I follow up with another
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
question? Well, when I was in the Art Basel, and I walked into it, I thought this one is so different because this time the Art Basel, when you walk into it, you find everything is so bright,
Yes.
and your painting is just at one of the entrance, and I think it just matched so much the atmosphere of this year. Now, excuse me, I never seen your painting. So is everything of yours always so bright, or do you only do it now? Do you have some other pieces of work that's in different style? Or do all of these come into this kind of
Yeah, the triptych.
in the
If you have
this kind
different
of,
style, you do it,
setting?
no?
So
Yes. Actually, I started to this series since 2019. Like before, I did something else, totally different. I actually do not do
wouldn't work there.
anything. I get particularly on the wall. I guess my previous practice is very conceptual, really.
This
like,
one is from a very early series. This is
Yeah,
not
yeah,
a triptych. This is like a lenticular.
Like if you're interested, you can go to my website and have a look at matyingtong.com.
She has there is a work. I think from your early days, you're very well known for two works. The videos about the strawberries, which I think it was your university or something.
Yeah.
So she has this video for anybody has seen it. So it's this video where I think you're using like gloves or something, and she's peeling off the seeds of a strawberry very slowly, like tack, tack. So it has that tension. You feel it like you want to go quicker, but no, she's like very, very slowly. And then the other work that it was actually recently exhibited a few years ago is the one with the hammer.
Oh, right,
that
right.
you hammered the nails on a hammerhead, which I found it very profound. It's a bit, I will say it's a bit more darker, but it's a very profound. There's a similar work in the M+ by Yoko Ono.
Yeah. For my earlier practice, I use everyday objects as my medium, and then I try to look at like a different sides of the objects and try to recontextualize it. Yeah, so that is like my earlier practice, and then I guess my later practice is more about like how I perceive the world basically, like how I understand the world through making art.
Which is, I think, is quite important. I like artists that are very connected and are very sensitive to the reality of the world. And Mac is, I do see her in all her works because I know your works from very early. Like there was one that I think it was at PS1 at MoMA, the one with the bubbles.
Oh, right.
So it's quite funny. You have like this plastic bubble with these colorful bubbles in it, and they're like floating around, right? Like it's like a kid's game, and inside there's like a QR code that says "Don't come closer" or something like that.
There is some QR code inside the ball, and then when you scan the QR code, and then you will see you are actually being surveillance.
Yes, it's something about surveillance,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
So you come there, and then boom, of course you're being surveilled, which is quite common by our natural tendency to fall for shiny objects, right? You see it with the kids with the ice cream cars and Instagram and social media. We fall for shiny objects, and I think that work was conceptually very powerful, especially because it also your new works, especially the ones that are at Basel, you're really exploring again the theme about surveillance, and we were discussing that on the documentary that we watched recently. So I like artists that are really very sensitive to what are going on and are not afraid to say it and express it in interesting ways. Sure.
Hello? Is it on? Oh, hi. Hi, thanks so much for the talk, and thanks, Jacopo, for inviting me. It's really interesting to hear you guys talk about the collector-artist relationship, and it's really interesting to see your works at Basel and before as well. I just wondered, have you, after you commission the works to the artist on Taobao, or to the painter on Taobao, do you ever show them the completed work? And what's that dialogue like? And then also, I wondered, where that sort of idea came from of commissioning 3 different people to paint. Why did you want 3 parts, or, what was that idea behind splitting it?
No, I actually didn't let them see it because I don't think they ask. But if they ask, I would love to. And so the second question is like, why, right? Yeah.
3 panels, not 5, not 7. I think that was the question, right?
And where did that sort of idea come from? Yeah.
So I did this series in 2019, and then I actually played Sims for a while, and then I developed like a virtual artist in Sims called Dali Young, like back to 2018. And then so when I developed that artist, actually I spent lots of time in Sims. And then so in 2019, and then I got an invitation by my gallery and want me to do a solo. And so I developed like an idea from the game. And then I realized that there is a scenery in the game which looks like Hong Kong very much. So when you go inside the game, you get actually lots of settings you can choose. You can choose like a cityscape or like a suburb, right? And then I choose a cityscape which resemble Hong Kong very much. So I built sometimes like a dreamlike environment there, sometimes like dystopia, and then I export that into like a JPEG. And then but that won't complete the concept, right? Because if I need to ask somebody to paint it, there has to be some linkage between there has to be some linkage between the concept and the work, right? So what is missing there? So the work has to be odd. That's that's the task for myself. It has to look odd, right? So that's how I come up with the idea. I asked 3 painters to paint it. So so I cannot control how it looks, right? Then the outcome or the painting will look like this.
And what is in store for you for this year and next? Where do you see your practice evolving? What are areas you want to experiment with? next?
I'm going to have a solo show soon in Europe. I don't know whether I can tell right now, but yeah, some kind of project. And yay. And I want to challenge myself to make some installations. Because like throughout the years, I've spent lots of time in Sims, and actually I find that I actually develop a skill that I can probably make 3D, right? Because when you design the painting in the game, actually it requires lots of 3D mind, right? And so I want to challenge myself. Why don't I like put forward this mind and see what and see how far I can go. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to it.
Yeah, you never stop exploring. It's you have that wide range, and yeah, no, I keep doing it. And I have to say that when you work conceptually, like your big installations are quite interesting. I like the one that the PS1, the bubble was.
So if the painting is conceptual painting, then I wonder what conceptual installation will look like.
I don't know. We need to wait for the idea to
Yeah.
come, but I think it will come. Do we have more questions? Do we have more questions?
No. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think we are on time. Yeah. I think yeah, I think I'm getting the signal now. No, well, I mean, Mac, what can I say? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for
She is the
support on
superstar.
way.
So,
oh, thank you.
and keep
You're
an eye.
a super collector as well.
No, I'm a small potato. I'm a small potato. No, but keep an eye on Mac. She's an artist that, especially now that you're going to start venturing into the old world, you're heading to Europe. I think not only Europe. I think you also have shows in the United States with the galleries and a new gallery opening in the United States. And you will be conceptually, you're touching that point, and I think it's going to be of great success. And I'm a true believer.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, and thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you so much, Jacobo and Mac, for kicking off our Gokdo Live program tonight. Just a reminder to our audience that we have 8 more programs happening over the next 4 days here at the fair, so please do come and join us here at the Asia Society Theatre. Thank you very much. We also have a performance piece happening in the next probably 5 or 10 minutes, so please do stick around for that too.